So Max Tapera was able to host one of the very first tournaments for Riftbound. I was able to participate in it, and let me say it was pretty exciting to see how everything turned out with that, and we finally got some competitive deck lists. So let's see what those deck lists look like, who ended up taking the top 3 spots, all of that and more we're going to be diving into right now. One of the biggest things about this tournament is it's kind of difficult because we've had a lot of cards that have been revealed over the weeks, which have given all of us a lot of excitement because we first started out with 4 basic decks and no cards revealed. But then as more champions, more legends got revealed, we were able to start to see how this meta could potentially evolve into things. We got to see what colors were able to interact with what and what they were potentially able to do as a power, and how that was all going to help build a competitive deck in this newly discovering meta. It's a very exciting time, and rightfully so. Viktor is going to be one of the more popular decks, mainly because they have a lot of the support out there already, with the starter deck being pretty strong off in the beginning, which is really cool to also see on top of that. But with that, we didn't necessarily see a whole lot of Volibear or any other characters of that nature that had the starter decks going in. So what do these decks then look like? Well, first and foremost, it's going to be interesting to see how this ends up looking out because, of course, the Viktor was able to be in 3 of the top 8 deck lists, which, rightfully so. It's going to be one that you are going to be seeing a lot of. But with that being said, it was really interesting because we were able to also see, an Ahri deck, which we've had kind of an interesting, is it going to actually be so good when you do see, this deck being played? And it didn't necessarily feel like it was quite hitting that the Ahri, the green Ahri at least, being able to then go ahead and gain a point for holding a location while being very good seemed something that was a little bit, far between with actually helping the impact of the game. But still, being able to now see a 4-1 record of this deck list is pretty exciting to be able to witness. Now, with that being said, too, Jinx is, of course, going to be one of the other ones that has a starter deck, but we haven't necessarily seen a whole big impact with her just yet. But still, at the same time, Hughes being able to get into 4th place is a really big deal right there. Being able to have that going, exciting to be able to see, and we'll take a look at that deck list. And then, we have a very wide meta in this case going 4-1 as well. A Lux, Lee Sin, Jinx, Viktor, and Ahri all going 4-1 in the meta. Now, of course, Master Yi is going to be one of the newer decks that, is going to be introduced, being a legend that was introduced just last week. That's not going to be anything to write home about just yet because there's not necessarily a whole lot of time to try out, these kinds of deck lists necessarily. So really interesting to be able to see, though, that 3 decks were able to go ahead and make it there. Now, Volibear is going to be pretty relevant here as well. Something that's going to be interesting to notate well, something that we're going to be looking into is the Aurora is going to be a really interesting gear to be in this game, especially on like a Volibear or a set deck. And we've seen both of these. Freaks was the guy that I went against in the first round. He was able to play this deck list, managing to go 3-2. Really good player as well, and a really fun to be able to go against him. But yeah, the deck basically goes in, you ramp up to being able to play the Aurora, and then at the end of your turn, you're able to summon a very powerful, high-cost creature, or unit as they are called in this game, to be able to devastate the board, and you are able to do that every single round. Then on top of that as well, especially with what makes Set so good, that you are going to be able to then use Set's legend ability to take off a +1 counter, for lack of a better term. There is an actual term. It slips my mind at this point. But, you're able to take off that +1/+1 counter, essentially, and you are able to resummon them back into the, your base and go from there. It's a buff, that's right. Anyway, but with that being said, there's a lot of really interesting things to look at. So with the Viktor deck that I find so interesting here, and something to notate as well, is that this is a pure order rune deck. There are no other color whatsoever, no mind in this case, to be able to use, and that's because nothing necessarily needs to be rotated with that. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how this is going. Now, of course, you're only playing the one Viktor, and he's going to be the Viktor that is going to be, of course, your legend as well. So he's going to be outside of the deck, so you don't need to worry about drawing him necessarily, which is going to be awesome to be able to see. With that being said as well, Ravenbloom Student is going to be a really good one as well, because anytime that you do play a spell, you can give +1 to that unit in that case. And so, I mean, if you play 2 or 3 in that regard, you can go ahead and ramp it up to a 5 or 2, which is pretty dang good. Then you have some really low costs going on here. I mean, Siphon Power is going to be one of the biggest cards that you're going to play. It's not a new card by any means. It's in the starter deck. And you are able to choose a battlefield and give friendly units there +1 this turn, and enemy units there -1. I mean, just really good right there. And then just some really low cost characters that you are going to, or units that you are going to be able to get out into the field, and then have a big time just flooding the board. And then, of course, your win con is going to be Grand Stratagem. When you do have a lot of units at the end of the game, you are going to just go ahead and play Grand Stratagem, recycling 3, giving everything +5. You're going to have a lot of units out onto the field, a lot of tokens as well with that you are going to be able to flood the board, mainly because you have recruits, aka tokens, that are going to be able to go ahead and attack in with Noxian Drummer. Call of the Week will be able to take out a unit with little loss to you, playing 2 units, your legend ability. Now, one of the biggest things, and something that was really interesting to see with the deck list as well, was going to be 2 Falling Comet. Now, this is going to be a really good card as well, because you aren't necessarily going to have to recycle anything, which is a really big deal. And for 5, you are able to deal 6 to a unit at a battlefield, which can clear out a lot in that regard. And I mean, that's going to be really nice to be able to see dealing 6 damage to them. You could either clear out something or deal a lot of damage to be able to take it down after the fact as well. And so that's going to be something really interesting, because if it is a 7 or an 8 unit, in that case, you can deal 6 damage to it. Then you can send like 2 tokens into it. They all trade. The battlefield is then wide open. Then you can go ahead and take it with another unit or things of that nature. Really cool to be able to see, the gameplay with this as well. And also go ahead and give Max Tapera a follow as well if you haven't already. That guy is posting a lot of really good content. Seems to be all in for this game as well. Really great stuff. And so, I mean, otherwise, Consult of the Past, you're going to be able to hide as well, which could be really good. Then go ahead and draw 2 cards. And it's really nice as well, because they're not going to know if it's necessarily a Hidden Blade or, a Consult of the Past, or even another card that could potentially be hidden. And they're always going to be treating it as though it is a Hidden Blade. And then you're able to just go ahead and take a step back and be, actually, no, it's this card. So really interesting to be able to see with that as well. So with that being said, the Ahri deck in second place is going to be really interesting as well. A couple of really cool changes. Now, the biggest thing is the green Ahri is going to be the one that you are going to be having in your command zone, for lack of a better term in that case. And so with that, this Ahri can then go in, and once you've already taken a board state, or once you've already taken a battlefield, you can then go ahead and play the Ahri there and try to get her to hold, so that you can go ahead and score an additional victory point when you are able to hold the battlefield during the upkeep. So really good in that regard. Now, of course, being able to also move units is really huge, especially for 1 recycle. This Ahri is also really great at being able to take battlefields, being able to attack or defend and give -2 to a unit. Really good stuff right there. And then with that as well, you have Stupefy to be able to do things. You can buff your stuff even more and get +1 for 2. I mean, that right there is already really good as well. And it can even be as a reaction. And then one of the new cards, Block, you're able to give a unit shield 3 and tank. So they're going to be able to be +3 and going to be able to take all the combat damage first, and then anything left over will spill onto the other units at your battlefield. So a really great way to continue to hold position after you have already taken a battlefield. So really interesting aspects to this game. Now, at the same time, Sahoya's Hourglass is going to be interesting as well, because the next summon friendly unit would die. Kill this instead. Recall that unit to your base exhausted. That's a great way to save your Ahri in that case. But also, not only that, that's going to be a great way to also make sure that things get back to your base, out onto the field to be able to attack the following turn. There's a lot of buffs out there. Now, Sonya is going to be a really good one as well, because when I'm at a battlefield, you ready 4 runes, which means, gosh, you can go ahead and just absolutely devastate, being able to play pretty much anything from your hand as a reaction. And I mean, that's going to be absolutely scary to be able to see. And I am absolutely loving how this deck is. Now, with that being said, too, whenever you play a card on your opponent's turn, you get to populate the board with a recruit. And I really do think that this Viktor is going to be one of the biggest aspects of this deck to really make it something special. You have so many reactions in your opponent or on your board to be able to play during your opponent's turn, so that you are able to then go ahead and just flood the board with a ton of recruits to help you then go ahead and take opponents' battlefields. With that, then you can also give them the shields and all of that as well to be able to get things going. Really great card. Really fun to see that in this deck. And then Kai'Sa is going to be one of the strongest cards in this deck as well, because Kai'Sa, anytime that you do take a battlefield, you are able to play a spell from your trash with the energy cost being less than the points without paying the energy cost. So that's going to be really good. And a lot of your stuff is pretty dang cheap. And then you are able to recycle it. Now, of course, you still have to pay the recycle cost in that case, which aka is the power cost, which is that little blue symbol right there. So you still, of course, if anything did have that, you would have to pay that. But I mean, say for example, if you go ahead and have Kai'Sa take a battlefield and you have a Consult of the Past in your discard or in your graveyard, whatever it's called, then you're able to go ahead and play it for free, draw 2 cards, and put it to the bottom of your deck. So just really cool stuff right there. A lot of fun stuff with this deck. Some crazy counters to be able to get things going, some crazy buffs, and a lot of things to be able to go ahead and take care of your opponent's board state to be able to hold the field. It was a really good match. If you haven't gone ahead and seen the finals just yet with Max Tapera, I'll link the video down below. We have some footage here, of course, that we have been cutting in and out of, and so something for you guys to be able to see with this. Now, of course, another Viktor deck that ended up getting into 3rd place. Really interesting here as well. Again, the one Viktor that is going to be your legend as well. And then here's something that's going to be interesting, because you have Forge of the Future, which when you play this, you can play a 1 cost or a 1 recruit token at your base. So for 2, you're able to automatically play 1, which can really help flood the board. And then you're able to recycle 4 cards from the trash if you so choose. With that being said, you got the same standard stuff that we've seen in the other deck. But one thing that's going to be really interesting is that they are playing the blue Ahri in this deck as well, just to really help weaken, other units at the battlefield while you're attacking in, really helping you out with that. And then with that as well, Shin is going to be one of the ones that I really want to continue to test with as well. It's really interesting to be able to see what this is able to do. Now, the big reason for that is because it's pretty much Flash, what you see in Magic the Gathering in that case. Because you can play this as a reaction, so play at any time, even before spells and abilities resolve, including a battlefield that you control. So you can go ahead and play him. He automatically comes in with shield +2, which means he has a total might of 5 and has to be taking damage first. And so you're pretty much just going ahead and sacrificing him for 3. But still, having 5 absorb might be enough to be able to save some of your units to be able to go ahead and continue to fight. So really cool deck to be able to see how a lot of this has gone. And then again, you have the overwhelming stampede, essentially, to be able to get going with a lot of that. And then, some great stuff to be able to take out the dangerous units that you might not want to run into. Now, the Jinx deck is going to be really interesting as well, something that I absolutely love. I love this Jinx deck. It's just has such cool synergy. Now, of course, one of the biggest synergies that you are going to be running with first and foremost is going to be the discarding of getting things into the discard. First and foremost, you're going to have this Jinx where as soon as you do, you're going to be able to discard 2, and that's going to make it to where you can draw even more cards because of her legend ability up here, which anytime you have 1 or fewer cards, you draw 2. Just really good right there. Being able to maintain stuff. Then, of course, you have Seal of Rage, your mana rock that you need to be able to continue to get things going. In that case, some really good stuff right there. Vi absolutely thrives off of things into the discard in this case, or in your trash as it's called. What you're going to be able to do is you can activate that as many times as you want. And you can make, as long as you have cards that are able to pay for the cost, because you can just put that back at the bottom of your deck and buff your Vi by +1 for the rest of the turn. And I mean, that can really take down some very big, units as well, which can be absolutely amazing to be able to do. Now, this is going to be huge as well, especially when combating against the Aurora in this case, because Rebuke is going to be able to return a unit to the battlefield to the owner's hand. And if something like the Aurora is playing that and you have a 9 cost back into your hand, it might just be sitting in your hand for a while, which is a really awesome response to that as well. Now, of course, Traveling Merchant will be able to draw 1, discard 1 when you take something over. This will be able to buff +3, which is going to be really good for the rest of the turn. And for 1, I mean, that's going to be really fun. And this is also kind of your bread and butter, because whenever you conquer, you may discard 1 to return this from your trash to your hand. So you're going to be able to just go ahead and continually recycle this, dealing 5 damage. I mean, you can really do a lot of damage to characters like that in that way. Now, at the same time, Misfortune is going to be a really good one as well. You can automatically play her on an open battlefield. So, I mean, even coming in turn 2, you can just automatically go ahead and place it onto the battlefield. You have the 4 runes already activated and be able to gain a victory point and potentially be able to hold it for the other turn to be able to get things going. Now, one of my favorite cards that has been revealed so far is going to be Immortal Phoenix. Now, when you kill a unit with a spell, you may pay 1 to or play 1 Fury to go ahead and play me from your trash. That's going to be really awesome as well, because you're going to be able to immediately get that out, and it's a 3 that you're pretty much paying 1 for. Not bad at all, and it's any time that you go ahead and kill it with a card in that case. Now, of course, Rebuke doesn't necessarily do that. That's going to mainly be with the synergy of Super Mega Death Rocket, which rightfully so is going to be able to do a lot. Darius, of course, will be able to be a heavy hitter as well, and then Draven is going to be a heavy hitter as well, because his might is increased by your points. So if you have 6 points, he's going to be a 9. That's a little scary. And so just really fun deck to be able to see how this does. Was able to get 4th place, and rightfully so, it deserved it. Now, Master Lee Sin here. I mean, one of the best fighters in the game of League of Legends as well, but Lee Sin also is going to be just a really fun deck to be able to get things going. Now, of course, he synergizes really well with giving things buffs. That's going to be +1. Now, unlike Magic the Gathering, you can only do literally 1 buff unless a card states otherwise, which in this case Lee Sin does. Now, the big thing about this deck is going to be really interesting, because you can buff Lee Sin as much as you want. So anytime you want to buff a unit, you can go ahead and choose him and get him up to 8, 9, 10, however much you want to get there. Of course, there are a lot of characters that are units that can still be destroyed by abilities and cards as well. So you got to be a little bit careful about that. But then you got your counters like Defy, Charm, things of that nature, which is pretty dang good. Then, of course, you have Pit Rookie, which is a big one. When you play me, buff another friendly unit, and that could immediately go on to Lee Sin and buff him up. And then the ability is going to be really big to pay 1 and exert or tap the Blind Monk to be able to play another one. Really cool stuff to be able to see with that. Now, Stalwart Poro, that was something that was revealed last week, and it has shield, and it gets +1 as a defender. So pretty good, and a fun little card there as well. Then, of course, you have some reassurance here. Zonya's Hourglass to be able to go ahead and save a unit there. Challenge to be able to take out a enemy unit there as well. Really helpful with that stuff. Dragon Rage is something that's pretty new as well, because you can move an enemy unit, then choose another enemy unit at its destination, then deal damage equal to their mights to each other. So, I mean, you're going to be utilizing that incredibly well. Then, of course, First Mate, one of my favorite cards of this game so far, just because it is so good when you play me ready another unit. And that can be already one that's moved. You can go ahead and move it in, take a battlefield, gain a point, play this card First Mate, take it back out, and move it back to your base in case there's something scary on your opponent's side of the board. And then also, this is going to be a really interesting one, because when you conquer, draw 1 or channel a rune exhausted. So get some good ramp going on in there, or just some good card draw, depending on what you need, because this deck doesn't necessarily have a whole ton of card draw. And then Carnivorous Snapvine, something new that we haven't necessarily talked about yet, not necessarily new to this game. But then again, every card is new to this game. But with that being said, when you play me, choose an enemy unit at a battlefield. We'll deal damage equal to our mights to each other. And I mean, again, you're going to be selecting things that are obviously going to be a threat, but you still want to be able to take care of, while Carnivorous Snapvine is going to be fine. And then Udyr is going to be really good as well, because you can spend a buff, or spend his buff, so whenever he is buffed, and choose one that you have not chosen this turn. You can deal 2 to a unit at a battlefield, stun a unit at a battlefield, ready him, or give him ganking this turn. So, I mean, really interesting to be able to see. And if you can go ahead and get multiple buffs on him, you can get one buff on him with the legend ability, you know, and pick to stun an enemy unit at a battlefield. Then you can go ahead and pick another card that has the ability to buff, add it to him, spend it again, then go ahead and ready him, then have him go ahead and attack. And there's a lot of really cool things that you can get with that. This deck was really cool to be able to see in action and what it was able to do. Feels like it might need a little bit more refining, but I mean, all in all, I mean, it was a really fun deck to be able to see unravel during the tournament play. Now, a couple more decks here. This is going to be a big one, though. I just really like the Lux deck. I mean, she got revealed last week, very recently, and someone already decided to try her out and was able to do pretty good getting in the top 10 with this last fight. Now, or last tournament. Now, this Lux is going to be really good because it's a reactionary card. You can go ahead and tap to add to use to be able to cast your spells. And I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing because your legend ability is going to be when you play a spell that costs 5 or more, you can draw one. So boom, you're going to be devastating your opponent's board. Then on top of that, you're going to be adding more cards into your arsenal to get things going. Now, of course, we have some Shin going in as well. Some really cool stuff, some soaring to get some ramp going. You know, great fun while I'm at a battlefield. The energy cost for spells you play is reduced by 1, which is also very helpful. And then on top of that, you do have a lot of stuff that you can go ahead and utilize. Now, Echo is going to be a new card revealed about 2 weeks ago now. And when he goes ahead and is taken off of the battlefield, and aka dies in that case, you can go ahead and recycle him to ready your runes, which is pretty dang good because that will all of a sudden ready everything up. Now, at the same time, you don't want that to happen during your opponent's turn in that case, because then you're just going to be able to maybe have reactionary stuff. But with the Lux deck, you might even want to, actually, thinking out loud here, because if it does have something that is in this case, like, you know, an action that you can also play in showdowns, which is going to be right when a battlefield is trying to be taken over. This is also a spell, and you can play 4 units in that case. And then there's a lot of things to go ahead and get things moving at that point. And then a good board wipe or a battlefield wipe in that case as well. Just absolutely devastating there, and being able to play two less for it is pretty dang good. So really fun deck, really fun synergy, and I absolutely love a lot of the gameplay footage that we were able to see with this deck as well. This is one of the decks that I really want to start testing out on Tabletop Simulator in Willow's Discord. Just really cool idea, and I'm excited to see how this is going to be able to do. Now, this card is a little bit interesting as well, because each player looks at the top 5 cards of their main deck, chooses one, and then recycles the rest. And starting with the next player, each player plays those cards, ignoring the energy costs. Now, they must still pay the recycle if it does need to be recycled, but still, it's really interesting. And this is a spell that you could go ahead and play and get some really cool stuff going, because, I mean, heck, you could get the final spark and be able to deal 8 damage to something pretty devastating out there, or go ahead and deal 6 damage up to 2 units as well. I mean, just really cool stuff to be able to get things moving. Really fun to be able to see this deck in action, and excited to go ahead and test this deck out. And so, yeah, guys, the first tournament is underway. Now, Max Tapera is going to be running other tournaments, so that is going to be something to look forward to if you do want to go ahead and be a part of that. The first tournament was a 32-player tournament, and it actually lasted pretty well. It was more of a round-robin until there was a top winner in that case. And so, really cool to be able to see how all of that was able to unwind. And so, he is definitely going to be doing more. There are going to be more casted matches as well. So, if you want to be a part of that, go ahead and find his channel and see what you can do to be a part of that, because it is a really thrilling time. And playing on Tabletop Simulator isn't too difficult, but it does have its challenges to be sure. But with that being said, guys, that is going to be this video. What legends are you looking forward to playing in this meta? What are you hoping gets a little bit more support? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. And until next time, guys, have a good one.